But I can tell you today that on today's show, I have a problem with Caitlin Clark, and I have a problem with how the WNBA is handling it. Caitlin Clark is allowed to be the most rudest person that the WNBA has, the most complaining person that the WNBA has, and there is no one to correct her for that action. None. So much so that delusion takes place. So, in other words, if the shoe is on the other foot, if it was in fact Angel Reese that was doing the things that Caitlin Clark could be doing, she would probably be banned or fined out the league. That is a fact. I've never seen a superstar, let alone a player, complain as much as Caitlin Clark has complained. If there is such a person who has done more, could y'all let me know? Most of you wouldn't be able to because there is no such or no one that actually complains as much. That's the problem. Me myself, I'm trying to I'm watching the Indiana Fever and I'm seeing how much they're declining. And they're declining because of leadership. And I know a lot of people going to try to go into the coaching aspect of it. It is not the coach. The coach cannot coach a superstar that does not want to be coached. Kayla Clark is uncoachable. Let's start there. She is 100% uncoachable. She doesn't want to be coached. She won't be coached. And that's the problem with what's going on today. Caitlin Clark, in fact, is a big problem with what's going on today. She's selfish. She's negative. She brings a lot of negativity towards her team, players, coaches. She's very privileged. She doesn't want anyone to tell her anything. She feel like no one can tell her anything. And I get it. You're the superstar, but at the same time, you have to be a team player. And Caitlin Clark is not a team player. Caitlin Clark, in fact, is Caitlin Clark, in fact, is a negative, a very, very negative player. Um, a lot of people can't be truthful about it. They don't want to be. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. They don't want to be truthful about it, and they can't because it would cause a rift or your job could be a jeopardy, similar to the LeBron James situation. Caitlin Clark is the type of person she adamantly or continue to ridicule the refs on the court. Like she would hinder her team's defense by completely taking herself out of the game and going straight to the referee and complaining while a play is taking place. She does not want her coaches telling her what to do, especially her black coaches. You know, and then people say coaches can't tell her anything they haven't won anything. The coaches that are on her bench are national championships. Caitlin Clark has yet to see any level of that type of success. She didn't win a ring in college. She hasn't won one in the WNBA. She is very well overrated. And she has this hype train around her. We get that. She has a great hype train. She is great for the WNBA. We are not saying that. But as a player, Caitlin Clark is not improving. When she's on the defensive end, she's like a deer in headlights. It looks absolutely abysmal. It does not look good. She looks like she has no idea what to do on defense and that she's never played her. She gets flat footed and she gets real girly, and it's hindering, it's a detriment to a team. And then when she blows a defensive assignment and her team has to try to make it up and they don't make it up in the way that she wants it to, or they score, she actually goes at them and blames them right at that point, right then and there. Tell me where it is that Caitlin Clark has improved defensively. And I know that they like to compare her to Angel Reese, but let's just be honest. If Angel Reese would be screaming and yelling and doing the same actions that Caitlin Clark is doing to the referees, it will be a bigger issue. The hate train will come full steam ahead. Angel Reese has not been able to do anything remotely animated like this in the WNBA without seeking consequences. She can't even go in and play a normal game without so much hate. And we do know where that hate comes from. There's no reason to hide it. It's the same reason why Caitlin Clark is quiet behind a lot of it when they're actually pushing that hate versus her actually saying, hey, that's not the truth. We know the truth. We know the problem. It's the fact that she does not want to help, you know, bury the problem. She doesn't want to move forward in the world. She allows this to take place. So when they do racist comments and stuff like that towards Reese, y'all remember when Reese first came out, she was saying press conferences, we don't have an issue, don't look at her like this and that. She does not reciprocate the same energy towards Angel Reese, as far as the protection of the WNBA or her as a person. That's because she's more than willing for that to take place. If you look, Sophie Cunningham is on the bench, and the more that those two are around each other, the more negative they become, the more renegade they become, the more standoffish they become. Sophie, you're not in no position to do that. If I'm the Indiana Fever, I would trade Sophie and get her out of there. Or if they want to be if they want to be buddies so much, you know what I'm saying? If they want to be thank you. Thank you, everyone. If they want to be buddies so much, then put them both together and send them off. You know what I'm saying? If that's exactly how they want to be, put them in a package deal and send them together. Send them off together. I don't understand why they're getting worse and worse, you know. And that's exactly what's happening, if we're being honest. The Indiana Fever cannot get better with Caitlin Clark doing what she's doing. Somebody has to have a real serious sit down with Caitlin Clark and say, listen, the things that you're doing is not working for our organization. We seriously need to reconsider the way you are approaching the game and the things that's happening because it's not really making sense. You know, the yelling at the coaches, she's gonna get a coach fired. They're gonna fire a coach. But mind you, Caitlin Clark has had numerous coaches. But she's gonna get the coach fired. And the reason why is because the coach is not putting up with her crap. Let's be honest about it. That's exactly what's taking place. Um, but they're gonna have to get something under control with Caitlin Clark. Far as the offensive output, her offense used to outweigh her problems, but now her offensive struggles are not outweighing the actual on-court problems. And then that's when you become a problem. She's not selling out arenas anymore, you know. Um, the compare her with Angel Reese, and I'm trying to, you know, not include Angel Reese in this situation, but let's just be honest, people. If Angel Reese would do anything remotely close to this, she would have been crucified. But we know Angel Reese is not the offensive juggernaut that Caitlin is supposed to be, but Angel Reese is improving year by year. Her motor does not stop. Um, Similar to like Russell Westbrook, he might not have been the greatest offensive shooter, but his motor did not stop. That's why he was able to average so many triple doubles. Same reason why Angel Reese is able to average so many double doubles. She does not stop. She keeps going. And the coach benching Caitlin Clark, I think, needs to happen more often. But I do think they need to get Sophie Cunningham out of there because one thing about it, privileged people, when more privileged people are together, they become more privileged. You need to separate that and prove a point. Either you're going to trade them both, trade Caitlin, trade Sophie, but I think you need to get Sophie out of that organization, period, because she's not providing anything to the organization. She's only showing how much more it is, and it almost looks as if it's racist. I'm gonna be honest with you. It almost looked like it's racially driven because they don't listen to black coaches. They actually act like it hurts for a black coach to even touch them, like it's a sin. Go and look for it for yourself. I got plenty of evidence. You can find me on TikTok and you can look at it on TikTok. I broke the video down, or I can very well break it here, but I don't want to put this content on YouTube, the videos, because you might get flagged. Y'all know how that go. But you can actually go look it up yourself, and you can't come back with a straight face and say that's not what's happening with the Indiana Fever. You got Mitchell there, you got Boston there. Caitlin Clark is arguably the third string. And I will probably start to push her lower on the depth chart, far as verbally, like us talking, because of her defense and she doesn't have the tenacity, she doesn't have the will to win unless she can just shoot the ball. And then she would just to if she has an attitude or just to check, she would chunk the ball from during the half court with one of the most awful shot selections you'll see. Does she have a chance to be great? I don't think it's in her. You can look. I think she has a chance to. She can be a good, consistent player. Great. I just don't think that it's not in Caitlin Clark to be great. I just don't think like she hated when Reggie Miller compared her to another player besides Steph Curry. Y'all remember that? Her whole demeanor changed. Like this woman is really selfish, and a lot of people don't want to admit it. You know, you have so many other players in the WNBA that's actually playing great game. Kelsey Plum, Alicia Gray, Asia Wilson, you, Angel Reese. You have players that's actually improving. You know, um, year by year, and they're overshadowed because the WNBA is in a cloud of racism. It's similar to the NBA when it was Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. You know, we know what that was pushed to, but eventually the NBA broke into a different barrier to where it was about the sport. You know, um, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't be proud of their race or people in their race because that's very normal for you to salute your race and you want your race to do good. Who does not? White, black, Mexican, Chinese. Who does not? That's a proud moment, a proud staple. But it's whenever you push or the people push a certain player to try to push the racism narrative with Angel Reese to make another player look good because you want that player to be the face of the WNBA. That's when your short-term product starts to have problems because you're supposed to be looking into long-term financial advantages. Like you're supposed to be the WNBA right now has so many great stars in it. It's supposed to be transcending right now. But because they focus so much on Caitlin Clark and the negativity around her, like they let her do so much and they cater to her, it's watering down the actual WNBA product, similar to Shea Gilgis with all the flopping in the in the NBA product. It's watering it down. That's exactly what's happening. And when you get a water that it's with the WNBA, it has always struggled to be a par with its counterpart in the NBA. So whenever you see that and it starts to spiral down, it's hard to pick the WNBA back up. You can't be as animated as Caitlin Clark and get away with all the things she do unless it's catered to you, and that's bad for the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is the only player I've ever seen that constantly attack the referees, constantly attack our coaches, and you know what everybody gets on Facebook, on social media platforms do? Oh, it's passion, it's tenacity. She's just so into it. And then you have Angel Reese, for instance, run down court and shoot off a referee that's feet away and go about her business. And they say that it's egregious. She's a thug. She's this. That's the problem. That's the problem. You have to keep the same energy. If you're gonna say that Angel Reese is a thug, then you gotta say that Caitlin Clark is the gang leader. Let's keep it. Let's be honest. We just want honesty about this, about the sport. The WNBA can be so much more. It can be a great product, but it's hard to be a great product when it's a biased product. The NBA had to get through the bias stage. When they finally broke the bias stage, it became a great product. See, the thing that the WNBA lacks, that the NBA lacks, is explosiveness, and like the 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 energy. It's not the same type of energy, so you're not gonna have the same effect. And with you not having the same type of energy as the NBA, that's where your problem lies. You know, so we want to do better. We want the product to be better. And at this point, you have to hold Caitlin Clark accountable. She cannot keep getting away with this. She is destroying the Indiana Fever. She is destroying the culture of the Indiana Fever. And she either has to be traded or she has to be set down and corrected because she's not doing anything good for the WNBA or the Indiana Fever, acting like a privileged brat at this point. She's 100% acting privileged. And like I said, it's motivated by a certain thing that I'm not gonna push, but I think it is very well motivated by that certain ring. She does not want coaches telling her what to do. And guess what? An uncoachable player is not a player that you need on your team. It can pass down like a virus, and you do not need that. If y'all agree with me, leave a comment. If you don't, still leave a comment. Let me know what it is. But y'all know what it is. Mine, I'm a Maniac Sports and Media. Make sure y'all subscribe. We keep it real. We don't sugarcoat nothing. Y'all know the deal. Leave in a comment what you think about it, whether you hear it live, whether you hear it later on, on a record or whatever, replay, whatever. Mind of a Media Sports Media, we keep it real. We're gonna keep it locked in. Next up, we're gonna get on Shea Gilgis Alexander and OKC Thunder and why it is great that they are actually out of the playoffs because we do not need them here. Appreciate y'all for tuning in.